When it comes to highly effective communication, we know that asking great questions and listening deeply are really, really important. But there's been a massive gap in our use of highly effective communication, and that is in the notion of the answers we give. And thanks to Brian Klobowski, we've now got a new science around AQ, as he calls it, answer intelligence, to help us fill that communication gap. So to kind of explain that gap a bit more fully, what we tend to find is that we have questions and answers. That's obvious, that's how conversations work. And actually what we do know is that the best conversations are an equal balance of both, and that listening clearly is the bridge that sits between them. But as I said, lots of research, lots of science, lots of tools and methodologies around asking great questions, and also the same for listening, but never anything that's ever been studied or provided around the answers we give. It's almost just been as though if we ask great questions and we listen intently, then the answers will just automatically fall out, the right answers will fall out. But here's the thing, it's the answers that influence. So this is not to say that questions and listening aren't any less important than we thought we are. They're just that on their own, without the balance of answers, really great communication isn't happening. So just to give you a brief introduction to Dr. Brian Klobowski's work and the notion of answer intelligence. What Brian has done is put together six ways to answer questions around three core questions that we would typically get: the why question, the how question, the what question. So when we focus in on the why question, there are two ways to answer a why question. Someone saying, why do you do what you do? Or why are you offering this service? You can answer with a story, and we know human beings love stories, and that's great. But also there's a way to answer that through theory. So when I think about that in terms of our own business, we talk very much around unlocking potential, and our theory on that is that if we can bring clarity to situations, unlock the potential, then we will get next level performance. That's our theory, because all theory is an A plus B equals C at its simplest form. And then of course you can bring that to life through a story. And here's the first lesson from AQ is that what we've learned is if you can answer questions twice in two different ways, it's much more impactful. If we listen to Einstein's theory of relativity, very much a theory. Now for people that are very academic, that will really resonate, but for the rest of us, we'd probably want a story of how that actually plays out in real life for us to really truly understand it. So the ability to answer a question twice, and in this case through a why question, through a story and through the theory, really gives additional impact and supports whichever one you start with. When we think about the what question, what's very much about, what is this? Well, that's kind of what's the concept. So, our concept is very much about how we unlock potential, but that's really bland at in its simplest form, but we can bring that to life through metaphor. So when we talk about unlocking potential, we talk about it's a puzzle. The challenge is about finding all the different pieces of the puzzle and then being able to put them together in the right order to unlock potential. So we know innately that metaphors are great at bringing things to life, much like stories do. But the great thing with metaphors are they're short, they're sharp, and we don't have time to tell a story, and metaphor can very quickly resonate with people and cut through and get their attention. The final question in terms of how, people might be asking you, how do you do what you do? Well, we tend to drive very quickly into the details, and I'd call that the actions on this model. The trouble is they don't actually have any context, and what sometimes people need is they need to understand the roadmap or the process that we go through to achieve what we achieve. So we have a 5-step process of how we do what we do, which we can then granulate down into actions that support that process. So the question is, can you do that for your business? So what you're already seeing here is that, yes, we can answer things twice, but also it's a real laser sharp lens onto what question am I actually being asked? Because if you're being asked how you do what you do, there's no point telling them a story about why they should buy from you, because that's not what they're asking you. So what's the question you're being asked? Two very powerful ways to answer it either way, and then you can really start to build that highly effective communication. The only thing I'd probably add to that is that clearly everything needs context. So when and where you use this has to be done in the right context. But also you'll see the things on the left are very objective. So for those analytical people, they'll really resonate with those. And on the right-hand side, it's much more subjective. But again, it shows how you can appeal to two different sides of the brain and two different types of people. And I think probably just to finish this brief introduction to AQ, there's definitely a link here between our styles. So we all know those people that are great at telling stories, and they're probably great at metaphors as well, and those people are very relational. People that are very analytical are great with theory and concepts, and those pragmatic people like process and actions. And I think the thing to leave you is to think about what's your natural style and what do you tend to lean on, because you will go to your natural style if you're not being conscious about this. And of course, it depends on the question you're being asked. You may need to move away from your natural style to answer the right question or to appeal to the person you're dealing with. We all love a story, but we don't like the guy that tells continual stories because it starts to get a bit bland and we don't always need a story. So that's AQ, a very brief introduction. Use it as a way to really focus in on the answers you give. Please still listen deeply, still ask great questions, but once you really understand the question you're being asked, make sure you give the right answer and influence for effect.